Division clash. I'm Nev Chandler along with Jack Corrigan for the play-by-play. Jack, the Force trying to bounce back from last night's disappointing loss at the hands of the Lasers in Cleveland. Louis Nanshoff, the bright spot last night for the Force.
Well, we talked to Timo Haaskivi today, and Timo said that Louis is one of the few guys last night that had what you would call a plus ratio in the scoring system that's set up by Timo and Jay Hoffman, the assistant coach. Louis had a couple of goals last night, 6 points on the year. Took him a little bit of time to adjust to some new line mates this year, but he and Peter Ward, and now with Haaskivi back in the lineup, Louis had a good start, and I think he's going to get better as the year goes along.
And, of course, tonight the Force will renew their acquaintance with a familiar face, Drew Ferguson, the former Force midfielder, now wearing a Cosmos uniform. Cleveland fans saw Drew last week at the Coliseum during the Force's home opener. I'll bet Fergie's pumped up tonight.
Well, without question, Drew was very excited about playing last week. Got a pretty good round of applause from the capacity crowd, plus last week at the Coliseum. He gives Eddie Fermani's club the indoor experience in the MISL that they don't have a lot of. He and Doc Lawson and several others are just about it in terms of MISL experience. So Drew's a good guy for the Cosmos to have, and I'm sure he, as you said, is going to be very pumped up for the game tonight.
And Jack, another fella pumped up in a Force uniform, keeper Chris Vaccaro, getting his first start of the season tonight, and kind of like a homecoming for Chris here in the Meadowlands.
Well, of course, Chris grew up in the state of New Jersey, played his high school soccer here, and he also played with the New Jersey Rockets right in this building here at Brendan Byrne. Chris excited about getting his first start of the year. I think Timo knows that you can't go the whole year with just one keeper, particularly the intensity of the MISL this year. Chris Vaccaro is going to see probably more action than he saw a year ago, regardless of injuries. And as the year goes along, if Vaccaro can give Sobieski the help that you want to have in the goal, then the Force is going to be that much stronger defensively.
Last week, the Force in their home opener knocked off the Cosmos 6-1, an easy victory for Cleveland. Since then, New York has come back in their home opener 2 nights ago. They beat a tough Baltimore Blast team 6-3. I have a suspicion, Jack, it's going to be tougher this time around for the Force. We'll be back with the opening kickoff right after this timeout. And we are now live here in the Brendan Byrne Arena. We'll take that commercial break a bit later on because, Jack, they've jumped the gun on us just a bit. A quick start here, just underway, 30 seconds into the first quarter, no score.
We'll set the Force line out there right now. It is Haaskivi along with Mike Sweeney and Louis Nanshoff, Dennis Mepham, and Bernie James on the back line for the Force. We'll give you the Cosmos when we can.
Louis with a nice step around. Nanshoff shot just wide of the net. Brcic went down. He's the New York Cosmos keeper, David Brcic, 26 years old. And now a break for the Cosmos. Moving ahead, Wes Mcleod, double teamed by Dennis Mepham and Mike Sweeney.
The Cosmos have Wes Mcleod, Drew Ferguson, and Laurie Abrams up front, with Jeff Durgan and former New York Arrows star Doc Lawson on the back line in front of former Olympic goalkeeper David Brcic for the Cosmos.
And our officials tonight, the senior referee, Gino DiPolito, the assistant referee, Joe Manfrey, and the alternate in the box, Joe Rudy. You may not be able to tell it at home, but it's very smoky right now in the Brendan Byrne Arena. During the pregame introductions, they detonated some fireworks, and we have some air pollution in the building right now.
Called a pushing violation against the Cosmos. First team foul of the night. Just underway, 13.5 minutes to go here in the first period.
Furphy through the box, trying to hit a flying Peter Ward with a pass. Out of the attacking zone it comes. Laurie Abrams battling for it, and he boots it across field. Abrams did not play last Saturday against the Force in the Coliseum when Cleveland beat the Cosmos 6-1. Cosmos are 2-2. The Force 2-3 after losing last night, being upset by the Lasers at the Coliseum.
One thing you will see tonight, Nev, is that Eddie Fermani has a tendency, in part because he doesn't have as many bodies as we have a violation called against the Force. Fermani will run his lines a little longer out on the field than Timo Haaskivi will. At least that was the case last week at the Coliseum.
Pushing foul assessed against Craig Allen. Ball right through the Keith. And to the far boards.
Good job by
fouls now on the Force. Go ahead,
excuse me. Good effort that time by Brett Hall to keep Pedro de Brito away from an open net as Vaccaro was out of position.
Force got a slow start last night, and they like to catch fire right away here in the first quarter. Last night they spotted the Lasers an early 3-0 lead, eventually fell behind 5-1, had a fine second half comeback, but too little too late.
Good defensive work that time by Keith Furphy with the tackle, and now Keith on right wing.
Furphy, a race for the ball in the corner, and Peter Ward will send it back out. being battled along the boards by Angelo DiBernardo, former midfielder of the Indiana Hoosiers. Furphy with a shot just wide. Dargle, a follow-up, is blocked by Andranik Eskandarian. Force still on the attack. Allen, open net across the wall. Shot to score. And a fine setup as the Force capitalized on a clearing mistake by the New York Cosmos. And Peter Ward knocks it in. Good feed by Craig Allen. Cleveland leads 1-0. And for Peter Ward, his 4th goal of the season.
Take a look at it again, and as Nev accurately indicated, a 2-on-none break. Good pass by Craig Allen. Look at the effort, though, by David Brcic to even get a hand on the ball, but no way he was going to stop the blast by number 8. The feisty Englishman has his 4th goal of the year. The Force on top, 1-0.
And credit. In the indoor season last year in the North American League, the Cosmos went 20-12. That was somewhat of a surprise, and they lost to the Sockers in the championship finals. And it was a tribute to Eddie Fermani for putting things together. On paper, it looked like they really had nothing.
They started slowly as well. Now, they were the real hot club at the end of the regular season before ultimately losing to San Diego.
Now Lawson moves it ahead. Shot Vaccaro was screened, but he got a piece of it. Good play by Vaccaro, and Doc Lawson is sent down, and that'll be a call against the Force, and it'll also result in a 2-minute bench penalty.
In a sense, not a bad foul to take, because Doc Lawson, after this shot, you see Vaccaro just able to get a piece of it as DeBrito was in front trying to redirect the ball. Lawson had a pretty good shot right at Vaccaro, and Kai trying to stop, but also made the play. Doc Lawson is still down. He came into the game as a probable starter. Nevy has got a severe contusion on the top of his left foot. I don't know if that's the problem. Again, now they're working on his right foot. So Doc Lawson will find himself being attended to for the next few moments, while the Force will have to send a man into the box, and Peter Ward will be the guy to serve the bench penalty. You know, some people talked about the 6-team foul rule being the Cleveland Force rule, and that the Force and several of the other clubs were strong proponents of pushing this rule in to try and hurt some other clubs. The Force has been guilty of this as much as anybody in the league. Still the subject of controversy, Nev. I, for one, think it's a pretty good rule, because I think the pace has picked up a little bit this year.
I think so too, Jack. Certainly there's different strategy involved, and there's a lot of pressure on the referees, especially as you near that 6-foul limitation. And the Cleveland Force will now have to kill a 2-minute bench penalty. Right through the box it goes. Shot and a score. The Cosmos waste absolutely no time in converting. Wes Mcleod was right there to ram it high off the crossbar and in. And we are tied at 1 apiece on the power play goal by the Cosmos. The time of the penalty was 13:11, and the Cosmos took only about 10 seconds to score, maybe less.
Good centering pass right out front. Wes Mcleod with the left foot blasts it by, and we are knotted at 1 with 1:45 remaining here in the first period. The Cosmos, that is their first power play goal of the season in 7 tries.
It took exactly 4 seconds for them to score that goal after the bench penalty. And for the New York Cosmos and Wes Mcleod, they have tied it up at 1. 13:15, the time of the goal. And for Wes Mcleod, that was his 3rd goal of the season.
So the Force will get an opportunity to try and crank up the power play. It has been one of the struggling areas for the Force thus far this year. They have had 10 power play opportunities and converted just 2 of them. One of those coming last week in the victory over the Cosmos. It will be Laurie Abrams serving the 2-minute bench penalty, so the Force will have 46 seconds of the first period and 1:14 of the second quarter if necessary, with the man advantage against the Cosmos.
Power play now for the Cleveland Force. Kai Haaskivi, Keith Furphy, Craig Allen, Louis Nanchoff, and Peter Ward on the attack. Nanchoff's pass knocked to the corner and all the way back to Vaccaro.
30 seconds remaining in the quarter. Excuse me, now, last night the Force appeared to overpass a little bit in the power play situations. Let's see what happens tonight.
Sometimes they try to be just a bit too fine, and they have not had a lot of success. And perhaps that's being charitable on the power play thus far this season. Let's see if they can knock one in before the end of the first quarter. Kai Haaskivi with a long shot, and that one goes all the way to Hackensack. 7 seconds to go in the quarter. It'll be a goal kick for the Cosmos.
I'm impressed with your New Jersey geography here, Nev.
Had to serve penance here many times, not only with the Cleveland Force when they used to play the New Jersey Rockets here, and Timo Liakowski used to coach the Rockets, but also the Cavs and the Nets. Sometimes when we do either soccer in New York or basketball over in Madison Square, we stay over here in the Newark area. And that's the end of the first quarter. The Force cannot capitalize immediately on the bench penalty against the Cosmos. And we have played 15 minutes of 60 here tonight. After one quarter of play, we're all tied. The Force won, the Cosmos won, and we'll be right back.
Look at some of the enforcers on hand with an appropriate banner here at the Brendan Byrne Arena in the Meadowlands Sports Complex, with the score tied at 1 goal apiece at the end of the first quarter of action. You know, there's no better way for your club or organization to enjoy themselves than by attending a Force game. You can attend as a group and receive ticket discounts as well as recognition on the telescreens and over the public address system. If you're interested, you'll want to call the Force Group Sales Department at 247-4740 in Cleveland and at 376-9001 in Akron.
And get busy right away and call and make plans to attend the next Force home game. That comes up next Friday, December 7th at the Coliseum against the Force's arch rivals, one of their arch rivals, the Pittsburgh Spirit.
Without question, one of their arch rivals.
We could include Baltimore in that. The Chicago Sting, now back in the Major Indoor Soccer League, also qualifies. And before it's all said and done, the New York Cosmos may well develop into an arch rival for the Force. Tonight in the early going for the Cosmos. Now ahead, Mike Sweeney, far corner. Doc Lawson is there. Lawson marking him. Sweeney takes it back outside. Across for Louis over his head. Louis. Had 2 goals last night. Also took a shot to the nose. Shot to score, and Nanchoff nearly tripped over the carpet that came loose, but he maintained his balance and gives the Force a 2-1 lead. Louis Nanchoff, goal number 6 on the season. And that was really a one-man effort on the turnaround.
Take a look at this one again. You want to talk about a powerful shot from a guy who was not one of the bigger men in the MISL. Louis working against Andrenik Eskandarian. Good step-around move, and boom. He beat Brcic to the short side. David thought he had the angle cut off, but Louis buried it past the left shoulder of Brcic. The Force regains the lead. 2:08 the official time of the goal. I believe that'll be an unassisted goal.
We'll check the official time for you, but Louis Nanchoff puts the Force on top. Now Doc Lawson heads it into the Cleveland end. Being marked by Mepham. Mike Sweeney does pick up an assist on the Nanchoff goal. And for Mike Sweeney, his 2nd assist and 5th point of the year. And 2:08 is the official time. Force has never trailed in this one. Good sliding tackle by Bernie James from behind, and not so according to Gino DiPolito. They call him for the trip against Laurie Abrams.
Take a look at this one again. The ball sent to Abrams just outside the box, and it was a good call.
Bernie did not get part of the ball. Free kick now for the Cosmos. Right through and a score. On the far side, number 20, Andrew Parkinson, and he converted. I don't think Bakal ever saw it. He had no chance whatsoever. And I'm not sure if Dennis Mepham even had a piece of the ball as it went through the box.
Good setup here by...
It did go off Mepham's foot and in.
They will give the goal. We'll have to wait and see now. But Dennis Mepham trying to stop the shot, or the pass by Laurie Abrams, had the ball go off his right foot and into the net. And the Cosmos have knotted it at 2. Time of that goal will be 2:52. Take one more look at it. Laurie Abrams pops it through. Dennis Mepham trying to cut it off. They'll give Abrams the goal since he was the last Cosmo to touch it. It'll be unassisted. He's got 3 on the season now.
Abrams has been a large thorn in the side of the Force tonight, and quickly the Cosmos come right back 44 seconds later after the Nanchoff goal.
Interesting, Nev, in the victory over Baltimore on Thursday, Scott Savage for the Blast inadvertently kicked the ball into the net. Bruce Savage, excuse me.
Seems to be contagious here in the Meadowlands, and certainly not a good omen for Cleveland. It's one of those unfortunate things. You see that more often than most people would think in the Major Indoor Soccer League. And we have a pushing foul against the Cosmos and their captain, Jeff Durgan.
And then Parkinson is called for the 3-line offsides violation. Had Angelo DiBernardo not affected Benny just a little bit as he was pulling the trigger now. The Force would have had their first shorthanded goal of the season.
I think they have one already. I think Brett Hall has one.
Against the Baltimore Blast, you're right.
Kick in for the Force. They say it was out of bounds and over the boards before it reached the third line. Either way you look at it, it's the Force's ball. Dargle off the trap. Turnaround shot knocked away by Brcic. And David Brcic had cat-like reflexes on that one. To the Meadowlands, where the Force is tied with the New York Cosmos at 5 minutes and 20 seconds to play here before halftime. Force jumped on top 1-0 in the first quarter on Peter Ward's 4th goal of the season. At the 2:55 mark, Wes Mcleod got the equalizer on a power play goal for the Cosmos at 13:15, and that's the way things stood after 1 quarter. In the second quarter, Louis Nanchoff gave the Force a 2-1 lead at the 2:08 mark. Cosmos came right back 44 seconds later as Laurie Abrams countered. Actually, Dennis Mepham deflected the ball off his foot into the Force net, and the Cosmos accepted the charity. And now the Force will be put to the test again with a penalty-killing unit. 3rd penalty of the night against the Force and their 2nd bench penalty. And DiBernardo on the attack to Elvis Comrie. Comrie sliding tackle attempt by Bernie James. He got most of the wall and not too much of the ball, and DiBernardo is the setup man. Angelo DiBernardo. Long shot deflected in front of Vaccaro. Shot deflected again. Shot is wide off the post, and a score! Number 8, Wes Mcleod with his 2nd goal of the game. And for the first time tonight, the Cosmos have the lead 3-2.
2nd power play goal of the night for Wes Mcleod. And what happened there was the Force was just not able to control the rebound. As you'll watch this sequence, here comes the goal by Mcleod as the ball skittered through 3 Force players, including keeper Chris Vaccaro, as Mcleod gets his 4th goal of the season on the power play. Timo Liakowski taking a timeout now to try and get the troops back together. You just can't afford to have your defense continually shifting from one side to another as they tried to corral the rebound. Cosmos got 3 excellent shots there, Ned, before Mcleod was able to put it past Chris Vaccaro.
And the goal came just 29 seconds after the bench penalty assessed against the Force. So the New York Cosmos, who entered tonight 0 for 6 in power play attempts, are now 2 for 3 in that regard this evening. And that's been the difference in the game thus far. The Cosmos leading it 3-2. Foul barrier.
Except they dropped it back down to 3 again, Nev, and now up to 4, right?
We have learned that the scoreboard tabulation here is not necessarily the right one. We'll have to wait and see. Brett Hall in the middle for Peter Ward. Ward is really being pushed and shoved tonight. He is learning what Major Indoor Soccer League contact is all about. It's a period of adjustment for Peter Ward, no doubt about it. And Brett Hall called for the dangerous play. That's 8 fouls now against the Force, and that certainly was one that probably wasn't worth taking at that particular point. 1:55 to go here in the second quarter. Cosmos put the ball in play off the direct kick. Now here's Cantor, stalwart on the back line. Chance Fry trying to turn around. Vaccaro beats him to the ball, but here's Pedro DeBrito. DeBrito, little give and go. DeBrito can't quite get there in time. Being marked by Fleming Lund. Furphy trying to help out Cantor with a long shot. Tremendous hand save by Vaccaro. Pressure by the Cosmos. Shot trickles wide by DeBrito. Oh, Vaccaro flying through the air tonight. Cosmos relentless now in the attack, and finally the ball is taken away by Benny Dargle, and he is tied up with Elvis Comrie. Play on, says Gino DiPolito. Fans like it. The Force doesn't. Brett Hall with his back on the ball, but Comrie recovers. Shot knocked away by number 8, Peter Ward. Good sliding maneuvers. The Force tries to get the ball out of its own zone.
55 seconds remaining in the half. It has been a dominated second period by the New York Cosmos.
Lead for Peter Ward by Fleming Lund. Carpet comes apart. Somebody's going to get hurt. They better get a seamstress out here to fix it. We're going to have somebody rip up some ligaments or cartilage.
There you see the carpet as it is popped up. That is now 5 team fouls. Apparently the official total on the board is right at the moment. 5 team fouls on the Cosmos with 47 seconds remaining in the second period.
Fleming Lund in the middle. Bernie James tried the sliding shot, couldn't get all of the ball. Bernie back on his feet. Back heel pass for Fleming Lund. And across to Furphy. Oh, a goal would be mighty big for the Force now. Turnaround shot by Ward, deflected up and over the glass on a nice defensive maneuver by Andrew Parkinson.
Peter Ward is doing a much better job tonight, Nev, of holding his ground against the pressure in the box. He is learning, as Craig Allen does so well, that when you're going to play with your back to the goal at the top of the box, you're going to get pushed and shoved, and you really got to fight to hold your ground on that pivot foot so that not only can you maintain possession of the ball, but still be able to turn and get the good shot off.
Of course, the big thing for Peter Ward, Jack, is the fact that he is not exactly mammoth physically. Peter Ward at 5'7" and about 145 pounds. He can really take a pounding in there, and he doesn't have as much muscle as a Craig Allen.
Give and go, Mike Sweeney.
Oh, Sweeney couldn't regain his balance. He tumbled through the box. He had a wide-open shot with Brcic down. Contact by Bernie James and Jeff Durgan. They both go down. Finally, Gino DiPolito with a call on the far boards against the Force. It'll be another 2-minute bench penalty against Cleveland. That's the 9th foul of the quarter.
Well, watch this one again. Mike Sweeney trying to get over to help out. Went for the tackle. Looked like he got a piece of the ball, but then got Doc Lawson when the action was away. And Doc Lawson is down for the second time tonight.
14:39, the time of the penalty. The Force once again shorthanded for the 4th time tonight. And this is the 3rd bench penalty on Cleveland. And Doc Lawson is being tended to by Cosmos officials.
That same right ankle, right foot. We'll take another look at it again. The ball came off the boards. We can't really... Mike got the ball, but then apparently in the estimation of the officials, play was away when Doc Lawson went over the top of him. In any event, the Force will find itself shorthanded for the final 21 seconds of the period in the start of the second half.
If nothing else, it's more of an obstruction because you're impeding Lawson's progress trying to get to the ball. Sweeney had the right idea, but nevertheless it backfires. Keith Furphy goes to the box, and he will serve yet another bench penalty against the Force. 21 seconds to go here in the quarter. And the Cosmos have had much the better of it in stanza number 2. DiBernardo on the attack. DiBernardo puts a shot in on Vaccaro, and Bernie James sends it high in the air. Double-header attempt, Mepham back to midfield, past DiBernardo, and all the way back to Brcic. Mandatory that the Force kills the final 5 seconds here, and it looks like they'll do it. Here comes Laurie Abrams, 3-on-1. He better hurry, and the horn sounds before Abrams can either get a pass or a shot underway. Timeout. We have reached the halftime intermission point of this contest tonight with the score, the Cosmos 3 and the Force 2. Jack and I will be right back after this timeout. A lot of shots by the Cosmos tonight right through the wickets, through the open legs, and that has caused many problems for the Force defense tonight. All right, we're still in the halftime intermission. Coming up next will be Jack's interview with Force midfielder Mike Sweeney. And following that, Jack and I will be back with some more halftime stats. Again, the score, the Cosmos 3 and the Force 2.
Many of the players from that league. The Force has 2 such players in forward Peter Ward and midfielder Mike Sweeney. Mike admits the MISL differs from the NASL, but it's not really been a difficult transition for him.
I think the work rate is much harder, but as personally, whether it's affected me that much, I don't feel it has, because with Timo and Nemeton, we played a very physical, very hard-working style, and that has helped me fitting in here, and the fact that I've done it before. In Vancouver and in San Jose, we did play a much slower-paced game and tried to rely on skill a little bit more, and I think over a 48-game season, you're just not going to win as many games playing that way.
This is the 5th year of professional soccer for this fiery Canadian, who has also represented his country in Olympic competition. Mike may not have the size of some, but his aggressive attitude more than compensates. He's been a perfect line mate for top scorers Keith Furphy and Craig Allen.
The thing that I like to think that I do best is hard work, and then through that, the other aspects of the game become a little bit better. I like to tackle, I like to work hard, I like to win the ball, and I like to pass. Goal scoring is not the most important thing to me in the game. If it's there, I'll definitely take my opportunities. But if I have the chance to set somebody up, I'd much rather get an assist than a goal.
The slower start by the Force this year had some fans concerned, but Mike Sweeney sees it as a potential benefit.
One of the things that I've noticed over the past few years is teams that have done well in the playoffs are teams that have not started out terribly strong. If you go back to San Diego, both in the NSL and the MISL, their first half of the season was a disaster. And if you look at Baltimore last year, they were around 500 about halfway through the season. So I think if we can just keep continuing on and gradually building towards a peak instead of concentrating 100% on peaking for, say, this weekend's game and then doing that for a period of, say, 20 games and then having difficulty of maintaining that level, I think it's more important to peak at the right time, about 10 or 15 games before you go into the playoffs, and have that carry over. And I think with the personnel that we have here, if we can peak at the right time, there's no doubt that we can be a dominating force around playoff time.